Well, welcome everyone. I'm glad to see you here today. Our guest critique artist is David Lobenberg, and he's going to give a fantastic critique to some of our members' paintings. And I'm going to give you a little bit of background about David, but probably most of you already know him or have taken a class from him. I know I have. One of the things I just found out, and you've done it a long time ago, was you've done so many portraits of sporting people. And I noticed, in fact, looked it up today, the one up for Barry Zito and Nick Swisher of the A's. So
Yeah.
and I said I had to give you a little niggle because I'm a Giants fan. So, anyway. But David does landscape, watercolor, and acrylic painting. He's recognized all over the place, worldwide, nationwide. And he teaches year-round workshops in California and out of state. He's got a master's degree in fine arts from UCLA. And are you still teaching over there at Sacramento City College?
No, I retired about 2 years ago.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Full-time online and in-person teaching now.
Oh, yeah, I hear you. So his work's been reproduced everywhere: American Artist, Southwest Artist, American Art Collector, all kinds of different places. He's done portraits for the Sacramento Kings, River Cats, the United States Air Force. I mean, David's everywhere, and his art is fantastic. I've taken a couple of workshops with him, and we'll take a few more, and you can't find a better teacher. He's a lot of fun, and his workshops are a blast, and he's a fabulous painter. So welcome, David, and you can take it away. Are you going to screen share? And if yes, I'm going to spotlight you.
Yeah, spotlight me.
Okay.
So I'm not going in any particular order to Dropbox. Let me do the first one.
All righty.
And okay. Now you're going to have to help me out.
Yep.
Who belongs to this watercolor?
This is La Lima.
La Lima. Okay, La Lima. Okay.
All right. So should I take your face off and just do the painting?
Yeah, let's just do the painting. Yeah, concentrate on my desktop only.
All right, I did
we'll
the
make
wrong
it nice and big. There we go. All right.
Okay.
Let me tilt this down a little. And I want to get it nice and straight. There we go. Okay. So how could we improve this? A lot of detail, focusing on a simple door latch, I assume it is. I want to see, I'm going to talk about it in terms of color and in terms of creativity. Yeah. So in terms of color, and again, we're not getting perfect balanced color when we show these things online, but I'm assuming this looks like it's painted mostly with a black color. So my first question is, what color did you use?
Payne's gray, not black.
Payne's gray, a beautiful color. Oh, what brand? I'm curious.
I think it's Vincent and Newton Coatman.
What was that again?
Vincent and Newton Coatman.
Oh, they make the best Payne's gray, I think. The only other company I've seen that comes closest, I think, is Da Vinci. But they make a wonderful Payne's gray. Well, what I would suggest to you is, instead of using Payne's gray, it's a really neutral, color, if you will. And I love it. It's a beautiful color. And I also love monochromatic painting. But I think when you're doing a color image, it might be better if you mix up your own gray.
Okay.
And there are so many grays that you can mix.
Yes.
So what I did is I put your image onto my computer. I work on an iMac. I don't get very technologically involved. I don't do, I don't have a lot of apps. I keep things fairly simple, but I did put it into my, my iPhoto, and there are different ways that you can manipulate colors in iPhoto.
Okay.
So you can see what I did here. I'm
Yes.
going to get it closer. Look at
Yes.
the colors that are in that now.
Yeah. Yes.
You can see blues and greens. So I would get away from using too much of a neutral Payne's gray,
Okay.
and do mix up your blacks. And
Okay.
there are so many ways to get dark blacks. I mean, you know, right off my head, I often like to mix phthalo blue green shade
Yes.
with maybe a little alizarin.
Yes.
You know, play around. You could grid off a quarter sheet of watercolor paper into
Yes.
maybe 1 or 2 inch squares.
Yeah.
Get your palette out and start mixing all of these different blacks, and you know, below each square have a little space,
Okay.
so you can write down your recipe.
Okay.
So I think that would be one way, because right now you're doing a beautiful job of getting details in there. You're following the values great. I just want to
Thank
see
you.
some richness in terms of color.
Okay.
And you could even get that with your background colors. Look how much warmer I made the wood here.
Yes.
You know, so what did you use? Was there any one color you used for the wood, like up here?
I think I mixed up quite a bit actually. Sometimes I get my palette very dirty and I mix up all of it to give my first wash. Like,
Okay. I gotcha. And you
So-
know what? Sometimes I'll do that, you know, as you paint, your palette gets dirtier, and then I'll clean off a palette, but maybe leave a little of that kind of muddy color, because
Okay.
it's sometimes you don't want too much color in your paintings. You
Yes.
want your eye to rest in certain spots.
Yeah.
Because I have a tendency to like to use lots of bright colors, but sometimes you can go overboard. So I use kind of that leftover mixed muddy color
yes.
in areas, and that works. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you can go into certain areas. And I think what I did is I added a little more yellow onto this, and see
Yes.
how it got all warmed up.
Yeah.
The other thing that you might want to do, did you work from a reference photo?
I did. But I was learning texture, so I sort of added all on my own. Like I was learning wooden textures from different places. So I thought I will use it all in one painting, and that's what I did.
Okay. Hey, that's fine. The other thing that I was thinking about doing, and there are some books out there. I remember I had a book where this one artist did lots of paintings like this. Plus, further back, he also did, you know, like a whole barn. He even did more landscape.
Yeah.
But his book was all about the textural elements, which you did very nice in the wood. I'm thinking, gosh, it would have been kind of cool maybe if there was a little rust on that latch.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. Things just to give it, just things to pull in the viewer's eye even more.
Okay.
Now, you know, maybe you painted this and your main challenge was, hey, you're learning how to render wood. You're learning the values on the latch. So what I do a lot is I would take this, I would trace it like on a vellum or a see-through paper.
Yes.
That's going to be your mat. I do this a lot. This is what I teach a lot. That would be your, think of it as your master drawing.
Okay.
Then what you do is, or you could even photograph this
Okay.
and put it in a digital projector,
Okay.
so that every time you do this, when you do another study, you don't have to draw it over again. You've got that master tracing and you just trace it on your watercolor paper, whether it's projected or whether you put it on a light table. I put it on a light table. One of these days I'll get a projector, but you know, my light table technique is just as fast. That allows me to explore. I never look at a painting as, well, this is it, I'm done, off to the next image.
Yeah.
I love, in fact, I'll show you an example. And by the way, this is my roundabout way to show you another suggestion, but bear with me.
Oh, sure.
So I found I have this image. It was a woman with her hair covering both of her eyes. I thought, ooh, that's kind of an evocative image. So I did painting number 1.
Okay.
There it is.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's a good example. Now here, I think I did use, maybe I used a neutral. That could have been a paint. I think that was a Payne's gray. But while it was still wet, and as I was rendering the hair, and you could do this the same thing with the latch, I pulled in some blues. Look at, now we've got some, there's a good term for this. I learned many years ago. Now we've got some eye candy.
Yes.
People love sweets. This is eye candy.
Yes.
And you can do the same. You can make that latch into a very sexy latch with color.
Okay. Okay. I will do it. I will try to do it.
So this is one, but I have my master tracing. I don't have to draw it over and over again.
Okay.
Here's number 2,
Okay.
where I put some shapes
Yeah.
into the hair with stencil, and this was done with chalk marker. Anyway, and then number 3,
Okay.
quite the difference. Warm hair, cool hair. So I'm playing, I'm exploring. And then look at this.
Okay.
Number 4,
Yeah.
where I leave some of my drawing. I don't even paint over it. I leave a lot of white. I leave a lot of the pencil marks. And then I came back with some stenciling and some colors. So I'm telling you that because I think it would be great for you to continue with this subject for a while.
Okay.
What the heck?
Yes.
Spend a half month or several weeks on it.
Okay.
And
I
I
will
would
do
suggest,
that.
what size did you paint this?
I think it's 8 by 10 only. I small paintings I make. I don't make big. I'm very scared.
Hey, that's perfect. I usually paint on, I'll show you, I paint on, these were all done on quarter sheets,
Right.
which is 11 by 15.
Yeah.
So no, that's a great thing to do. So with all that said, do a study,
Okay.
play with some colors in here. Don't use
Okay.
Payne's gray.
Okay.
Or you could use Payne's gray and maybe add some more color into it. You got to
Okay.
play with that.
Okay.
Do one also where you have some fun and make the color a little
Okay.
more expressive.
Okay. Okay.
Because look, you know how to do all the detail. Come on, that's easy. You got that under your belt. Now it's time to play.
Okay.
And then the last thing I was thinking about, and I did a little cutout.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm not that technically involved. I don't do Adobe or any
Okay.
apps like that. So I made a print and I cut it out. So please excuse.
No worries. Like I'm very happy.
What if a butterfly landed on this door?
Okay.
Wouldn't that be cool? Or a spider or a lizard?
Yes.
So anyway, that's my suggestion to you.
Thank you
on
so
that.
much. Yeah.
Now,
That
I
was
think, did you do 2? Or maybe
Yeah.
I've got, who did this?
Yes. This is mine.
Okay,
2.
again, there's yours.
Yeah.
You did a great job. There's no problem. You've got value under control. And that is the foundation. Whether you paint in black and white or color, you've got to be able to control value, and you can
Okay.
do that. So now you can have a lot of fun. So all I did is I saturated and I bumped up the color in my
Okay.
iPhoto app.
Yeah.
So you can play around with that too, and maybe you
Okay.
can think of some other things. And what the heck? Maybe there could be a little sand crab crawling over those rocks. I don't know.
Okay.
So was that of any help?
Yes, I have never learned watercolor. I'm learning myself, looking at various books and things, and I'm very happy with this critique because it helps me. First of all, it motivates me and gives me confidence that I am doing the right thing. That's one and foremost thing that I can continue. And it's really helpful. I will share with you with my next forms very soon. That I'm assuring you that.
Okay, okay. Yeah, you're doing the right thing. You're doing a very good job. So that was how I got into my California vibe style of watercolor, you know, stuff like this. And I'm going to show these again for another artist.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Oh,
how I got into all these expressive colors, because I
Yeah.
did master controlling values. Over the
Yeah.
years, I mastered doing portraits. And then
Okay.
guess what happens? I was getting bored.
Yes, exactly.
Not only that, but there was no life in my paintings.
Yes.
So, you know, now you're ready to do the same thing if you haven't done it already.
Okay. I
Have
haven't done.
fun.
I am still learning. I'm still very beginning. Starting to it.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you very
My
much.
pleasure. Okay, next on the docket. Who did this?
Me.
This is Yuan
Wait a minute,
Shu.
let me get the gallery view.
Yeah.
Okay, who's me?
This is Yuan Shu speaking.
Yuan Shu.
Yan Shu? Am I
Yeah.
pronouncing your name right? Yan Shu. Okay, Yan
Yes.
Shu. What, is this your son or who is this guy?
No, this is a Japanese actor I like.
A
And,
Japanese actor.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, what I liked about what this dude is doing is what the heck are these plastic windows? It's not important. I have no idea what those are.
I think it's a method like preventing the transmission of COVID, but I doubt if it works.
Got you. Okay, that might be it. That's funny. Okay, it's a fun picture. And I may be doing a workshop with Santa Clara Valley Watercolor Society. I may. We're still working on the subject, but I may do a pet owner workshop. So I was really attracted to this. It's a fun picture. You know, he's got the bulldog. He's holding up the bulldog. The bulldog's looking one way. He's looking into the camera. It's a great photo. And, you know, you're putting yourself ahead of the game. You're giving yourself an advantage if you're working from a reference photo, if at least you've got a really interesting photo. So this I consider a very interesting photo. Let me get myself back to, oh no, I'm gonna get myself back to, so if I hit speaker, oh, there I am. Okay. So here's your painting. Now, the first thing I thought about this, here's the photo. Nice bright colors. Strong value contrast. You're doing a great job rendering the bulldog and rendering the face. You got it made in the shade there. Good job. But here's the but. It's too, what's the word? It's too light. It's too pastel-y. It hasn't got enough value contrast. So I went back into my iPhoto again. And I took your painting and I played around with it. And I got this. And also I got, wait a minute, I thought I had two of these. Hold on. Maybe just that one. I was really playing around with this. Yeah, just that one. So you can see the difference. So how do you get that value? Well, first of all, wherever you can leave the white of the paper, you want to do that. And I think you did that just fine here. But let's take the face. I think you could go in with not only more saturated color. So let's say you're doing the skin tone with a combination of, let's say it's cad red and maybe yellow ochre or maybe cad yellow. You kind of can get that skin tone with a light complected person like him. What you can do is you can bump up the red a little more. You can get everything a little brighter. And also, and let me show you how that works on some of my work. Now, true enough, these are expressive colors. So if you don't want to paint and yours are natural colors. Well, let me show you original. See, you've got natural colors. But even with natural colors, you can get your colors and play on it on a separate sheet of watercolor, scrap watercolor paper. You can get your colors brighter by first of all, choosing bright colors and then adding more pigment. So instead of a paint consistency of, say, milk, it's a little more creamier. You've got more pigment in your color mix puddle, and when you lay down the color, it's going to be brighter. You're going to have to play around with this. Or here's another example. Look how bright these colors are. Well, first of all, that is a bright color. I love working with opera. This is a super bright, I think that's cad yellow, but it's got a lot of pigment in it. So when I lay that down, it's a little more opaque. There's not as much of the white paper showing through. You're seeing more color. With this, you're still seeing a lot of the white of the paper. With this, the colors are a bit deeper, and you're seeing a little less of the white of the paper. Does that make sense? And then let's talk about it in terms of that. Do you have any questions for me at this point before I go on?
So when I apply color, I'm always a little too conservative, too timid. So is there a way to apply color bolder, just like you did in your painting?
Yes. Here's a general rule. If you follow the value pattern, highlights the white of the paper, light value, middle values, dark values, you can use all sorts of colors as long as they match the value patterns across the face. That's exactly what I did here. Oh, well, in fact, even more so here. This is the shadow side of her face. I didn't even have to use natural colors. I can use expressive colors, but I've got to go in dark there. Or let's take a look at this light area in her eye socket. That couldn't be too dark, but it doesn't have to be a natural color. This is a mid value, but it doesn't have to be a natural mid color value. It can be an expressive color value, in which case I made it green. But if you do like natural colors, okay, you'd have a natural mid value there. And then in the shaded area, you probably would be mixing up your, with your subject, oh, do you know, what was the mixture that you used on the skin tone? Do you remember?
raw umber, and pyro orange red.
Oh, okay.
Pyro red, I mean.
Yeah, because you're going to have a red.
Yes.
No matter, and red is a natural component to any type of skin color. Red is always there. I would try cad red or opera mixed with a little yellow. And you're going to get you're still going to get that this general skin color, but it's going to be a lot brighter. So that would be my suggestion with that. Okay, now in terms of what else did I do with this? Look at the contrast between the face and the deepness of the hair. Yeah, I think you were a little conservative with the hair. I think you can, especially some of these shadows, you are going to have midtones on the top of his head because you've got a lot of light reflecting off the top of his head. But more in the shadow areas, especially look at it in this photograph, you can get some really strong darks. So it's following value or connecting value with paint consistency is important. So if you got a really dark area with his black hair, and also there's not a lot of reflection off of the black hair, your paint consistency, mixing up your puddle, should be about 80%, if not 90% pigment. A lot of pigment, but not so much water. So there's a ratio there. So the ratio is a lot of pigment and not so much water. Where you go to the top of his head, you can see some of this reflected light. Now you're going to mix up a puddle, and it could be the same colors combination. It's going to be more mid-value, so it's going to have the consistency, say, of milk. So that's going to be maybe 50% water and 50% pigment. And you know what, everybody, this applies to anything that you're going to paint. It doesn't matter whether it's figurative, landscape, still life, even abstract. Your very lightest values are going to be either the white of the paper or tea. A lot of water and just throw in a little bit of pigment. I mean, come on, the color's not going to be that strong. And you're going to see a ton of the white of the paper showing through. So what are you going to get? A very light color. Okay, now you go to a mid-tone. That's going to be milk. Pull off a little bit of, a fair amount of pigment, not too much, fair amount of pigment, and you got to get used to this. And you can practice. You can practice doing grayscales. A little bit of pigment, like, and now, okay, so what would this be? This would be maybe 30% pigment and 70% water. So the water is still more than the pigment, but there's more pigment in it now. Now you've got a milk consistency, and you're going to get a darker value, and not as much of the white of the paper is going to show through. And then the next step, when you get to some of the darker values, like maybe his eyebrow, then you're going to, so we've done tea, milk. So the next value is going to be cream. Now, cream is about, 70, 80% pigment, a fair amount of pigment, and a little bit of water. So 70, 30 or 80, 20. So now you've loaded up more pigment into that water puddle, and your paint is not going to be as transparent, and not as much of the white of the paper is going to show through. Unless maybe you use a light color to begin with yellow. You can only get that so dark. But I'm talking about, if you're mixing up browns or blues or burnt siennas, colors like that, not yellow.
Okay.
And then finally, for the darkest color, you have to tell yourself, man, I may even use a little butter. You know what that is? That's just your brush being wet, and you could almost dip into pure pigment. So you've got enough wetness so that paint won't have a dry brush look. It gives it just enough wetness so that you can lay down that 100% pigment. You can lay it down as a wash. So that's what you want to try and do. Yeah, you haven't got enough value contrast here, and I think your colors could even be brighter. But you got the goods as far as doing a figurative of this guy, this Japanese star. You got the goods of doing this Japanese bulldog star. So now I want you to do another study and bump up the value using paint consistency and try and get brighter colors.
Okay.
Does
I'll
that
try
help?
that. Yes, that helps a lot. Thank you.
Good. Now, did you draw this from scratch, or do you have like an outline that you could use over and over again?
I drew it from scratch.
Okay, well, what you can do, take this painting, put some see-through vellum or tissue paper on top, tape it down so it doesn't move around. And with your pencil, don't outline all the fine, outline just enough detail. And you really don't have to get, with your next studies, don't get sucked up in that pattern. Just to indicate a little bit. Because what you want to practice is manipulating the value, getting more contrast, and you want to practice getting brighter colors. So, these are just studies. They're not the end all to be all. They're not going to go into you're not going to offer it up for any sort of contest or, SCVWS annual exhibit. You're just doing it for your own benefit.
Okay.
Oh, and by the way, okay, I gotta advertise something here. If you go to Lobenbergart.com, and if you go to my workshop page, go up to the top where you see the menu, go to my workshop page. I have a California Vibe. This is for everybody. I have a California Vibe School of Watercolor. And my first course is how to paint in my super bright, expressive California Vibe portraiture style. That course is made up of I think 10 really in-depth videos that are narrated by me. I also include downloadable items. Once you sign, and it's course 1. Once you sign up for course 1, you've got it on all your digital devices permanently. They're always going to be there. It's going to be like having a book on your bookshelf. You can go to it anytime you want. You can leave it. You can come back to it. I really teach a lot about my internationally known style. And the enrollment fee is a stinking lousy $75. Can't lose with that. So I would suggest that, maybe with all of you. And I'm currently working on a 6 essential skill sets of drawing class that I'm going to introduce in October. But I have a landscape class on that school. So just go to my website and go to my workshop page, and you can kind of read a little about it. And there's an enrollment portal through PayPal. Okay. So we are done. But you're doing a great job. Now it's just a matter of playing with value and color.
Thank you.
Oh, and I wanted to show you this. Isn't this cool?
Yes.
Again, this is owner, pet, selfie. So you can get really expressive about this stuff. That's why I like what your actor did, because he was just having himself a bunch of fun.
Yes.
And that I think that helps getting your painting on the right foot. So I predict you're going to get some more, you're going to get some great studies. Have fun.
Thank you.
Okay. About this one.
It's also my work.
Oh, okay. Oh, that I forgot. It is. Okay. Same thing. Look at the reference photo. Let me put myself back on speaker. Look at the reference photo. There's a lot more like, look right here. You got just a beautiful hot pink on his lei here, and then you got that same pink except it's more shaded. But look at this white highlight. I think you should have left the white of the paper. Well, first of all, look, there's not enough contrast. You used a really pastel-y light pink, and that probably was the consistency of tea or milk, where it should have been. In fact, a pink like that, if I were to use a opera, I could almost lay that down as a very creamy paint because it's not that transparent to begin with. But it would have been darker. It would have been more like what we've got here. And then I would have left at least some of the design, the white of the paper. And then when I got into the shaded area, and when you shade down a color like red, you have to go to the opposite color on the color wheel to shade it down. Or you could simply shade it down with something like Payne's gray. But shoot, I haven't got my color wheel. Let me get my color wheel out. Look at this. Got a big color wheel, handmade color wheel. Yeah, that's right, green. I should have remembered that. You can shade down red with green, so that's another way. But you need to shade it down. This isn't shaded down enough, so it's not contrasting with the pattern in his lei. And I think the same thing with the shirt. And he's backlit. So basically, the color's coming from above, but behind him. A little bit behind him. I mean, he does have a highlight, but he's still in pretty much shade. It is a wonderful photograph, and it's a very dramatic photograph. So again, you picked a very good subject. You've rendered his face and body and everything else fine. It just needs more contrast, and it needs brighter, richer colors. And let me show you how. Oh, and here's something you should try and do, and all artists do it, and this is a trick that artists have used for hundreds and hundreds of years. Look at this photo and squint. Squint your eyes really hard. When you squint your eyes, two things happen. You don't see all the fine detail in what you're looking at, and you also can only see the brightest highlights and the darkest darks. All those middle values go away. You've got a lot of detail in his face. You still see his eyes, his mouth, his nose, and also it's painted real light. Not as dark as this face. And even in this face, you brought out more detail in your painting than you did than what you see in the photograph. And you can even lose more detail after you squint. Squint and paint. After that, you should end up with a face, and this is a portrait I helped somebody with when I was teaching a workshop a few years ago in Vancouver. In fact, look, this is the subject. That's the photograph. I mean, there's hardly any detail in it. Now, I put in a little detail I probably shouldn't have. I think, and this also is, no, I think that was, yeah, that might have been one of my studies too. where I did get rid of all that detail. But look at the contrast. And you do have little bits of contrast on his forehead and that highlight right in the middle of his forehead. And then here's the second one I did. So lots of contrast in his hair, little bits of contrast, but everything else is in shade. And not only that, but it's a rich, deep color. And I even got rid of his eye. It gets lost in shade. You don't see it when you squint. And not even a lot of detail in this eye, just enough so that you know it's an eye. You know, when we look at paintings, you don't have to see a lot of detail because the viewer will fill everything in. I'll tell you an artist that you should look at, the late great Charles Reed. Every time he did a portrait, and he did a lot, he was famous. He was famous for landscape, but also famous for his portraiture work. He would fairly well define the eye on the light colored side of the face, but always on the darker side of the face, he'd lose almost all the detail. He'd paint just enough, and it was mostly done wet on wet, so it's kind of blurry. That's what you want to do. So here's another suggestion for you. Just take his head, trace it, trace your painting, enlarge it, either with a digital projector or take it to a one of those copy services and enlarge that, and do head studies, maybe on an 8x10 sheet of watercolor, maybe trace out 4 of them, and start practicing painting backlit subjects like this, more like this. See the difference? Actually, your photograph is more like this. You're giving it too much definition.
You mean too much definition? Where on the where do you see it is too much detail?
Well, I'll tell you what. Squint at his face, you almost see his eyes, you almost see his facial features disappear into the shade. I think that makes a more interesting painting than this, where you're seeing everything. It's all very well defined. Whereas something like this is not as defined because everything's being lost in shade. Does that make sense?
In the painting, where do you see that can have less definition? For example, like the nose or the mouth?
I'll tell you what. I'm suggesting things based on my aesthetic.
Okay.
But I can't say that if you want to have more detail like this, that's fine. You just, like your previous painting, you just want to get your colors more saturated. And I see most of your painting, the paint consistency looks like it doesn't go much, except for maybe some dark. Generally, it doesn't go much past milk.
Okay.
Or between milk and cream, which is your mid-value range. I want to see more. I want to see some deeper values, which means you're going to have to do some color consistency, some color mixtures that have the consistency of cream, and in certain areas maybe all the way up to butter.
Okay.
So you can get a lot more dramatic.
Okay.
So again, I would suggest just doing some more studies.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And you paint figures very well. So I want you to have some fun with those studies and do some exploration.
Okay.
This is your teacher talking. I'm always a teacher. I taught 17 years in the art department at Sac City College. A great experience, and it really taught me how to teach. Okay, last but not least, this is going to be an interesting one. And I lost, I only got a little bit of this. So I don't, let me see what I can do here, because I did keep my Dropbox open. In fact, let's pull that up. Oh, wait, what's this? That's not my Dropbox. Did my Dropbox disappear? That's not it. I can close that. I guess it's not going to close because we're still on Zoom.
You're gonna have to screen share, David.
Yeah, but I have to pull up Dropbox first, right? And I've been having problems with, in fact, I was with Apple support. I've been having problems. See, I can't open it. What's
Well,
this down here?
You want me to screen share and go to Dropbox?
Yeah, I want to see, I want to be able to see the original art.
Okay, let me quickly, okay, hang on, let me find my Dropbox.
And this is Raphael's painting, correct, Raphael?
Yes, it is.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hello,
Good.
David. I was going to raise my hand only because I'm not sure if I can, I have to go kind of pretty soon, but I'd really like to know what you think.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? While Susan's working on that, let me give you a piece of my mind.
Great.
Okay. I know and you had two paintings, and I know you were communicating some ideas in those paintings.
David, David, when I have the screen share ready, do you want me to wait till you're done talking?
No, let's put it on now. Let's see what we can do.
Okay. Let me see if I can pull it up here really quickly. Okay, which one? The spam or never hot?
It doesn't matter. Yeah, let's do that one right there.
Okay.
Okay, so never hide creativity. Okay. Now, how can I, okay, so what's the story behind this?
Oh, you really want to know? Okay, so I got super bored. I have a lot of old paintings that I, did 30, 40 years ago that, beginnings that were just, washed in the background. It was like, what the hell? I'm one of these, I hate to throw anything out.
Right.
So, but I have to purge. This spring was just a ton of, oh my God, I got so many magazines and, I'm just pack rat collect. So right. As I'm throwing them out, I get distracted very easily, and I go through the National Geographics, and I got a ton of trade magazines from Graphic Arts, and I start just tearing pages out. No scissors or X-Acto, but just literally tearing stuff out. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. I have no idea. I just got a folder full of these things. So then I started, just putting stuff down on the surface, just pasting images down, but tearing them out. No, I just didn't want to spend time like finally cutting something out. It didn't make sense to me. So because I didn't really care, I just wanted to get my mind off of things. So I started putting them down with the acrylic gel. I used to use semi-gloss because the glossy was just too glaring, and the matte medium didn't, show the picture very well. But the semi-gloss seems to work really well. So anyway, I put some down on the board, and then take the image on the back of it, put some, brush it down and then put it on the board and then burnish it and then just use a ton of gel. And once I got all the pictures, the photos, so to speak, on there, I can't, I wish I could tell you what my process is. I don't have one. I just start mushing paint around. Sometimes
on top of
on top of
your
it,
painting fragments.
right? Yeah. And like the dot patterns that you see up in there in the upper left.
Right.
I painted some bubble wrap and just okay, let's see how this works, and then just start right above that bubble wrap there, you see that there's a little pattern underneath. It's kind of neat. It's this washy looking thing. That's the original painting down there. So,
okay.
And and then sometimes I use headlines and words and sometimes I don't. I just happen to find these two and put it on. I've got probably a dozen of these things. I had never shown anybody any of these, and I just like to know, what you think. I don't usually work in acrylics, and so.
Okay, well, yeah, you're being exploratory. You're being playful. I can identify with that because that's what I do. And so the first thing I'm thinking about this is, I like everything. Except I don't like that creativity popping out so much. I would love, in fact, I would paint right over that. And then the rest to me looks just fine.
So it's the line's kind of going down to the creativity.
Yeah, well, my eye goes right to that. You see, never hide. That's kind of cool. You don't quite know what that means. Never hide. I like that. It's not in your face. It's part of the composition. It blends in quite nicely. And then it looks like at the very end, you slap down a brass plaque and it says creativity.
Yeah, it wasn't the last thing, but
it looks like the last.
I didn't. Yeah, you're right. I didn't mess that up very much. I don't know why. This is one of those that is the most literal, I think, because there's the title right in the painting itself. And but the only I like it, just somehow the design, it pleases me. But most of them are not literal. That other one I have is I'd like to know what you think about.
Yeah, so this one's more literal, right?
Well, in terms of, there's your statement. It's not, there's nothing.
I see it as, hey, never hide, be creative.
Yeah, I mean.
Maybe you could push that creativity back with a semi-transparent wash. So it's just pushed back a little more. Anyway, that's my suggestion. Let's see the next one.
Okay, next one. Let's see.
But I like the fact that you're doing all this, and you do have it. You're developing up. It would be nice if keep exploring and develop up a style and a method.
I wish I could. I can't show the other ones, but I have no idea. It's just nothing in mind. Absolutely zero. These things are actually to cleanse my mind.
Hey, here we go. Here we go.
Oh yeah. Okay. So there's some words too. You're right.
Vanity, buy it. Yeah. This to me says sex and vanity are things that are used to sell product, which you see all the time. Is that what you're saying, or?
Oh, I wish you'd tell me what I'm saying.
That's what it says to me. That's what it says to me. Yeah, you kind of have a Rolling Stone image with a tongue sticking out. You got all sorts.
That was the very last. It's interesting. She was there, and I didn't like it at all, and I didn't know what to do. So I just took this little red paint, and you're right. I was listening to the Rolling Stones, and I just decided she needed that. I don't know why.
And the drummer, I forget his name. The drummer passed away.
Yeah, Charlie. Well, we're all getting old.
Hey,
I'm glad I got
what
to see them
happens.
when they were a little younger.
That's what happens when you're in a rock and roll band for 100 years. You start to lose your members.
Yeah. Well,
No,
none of us will be around.
It all looks good. I'll tell you what I was going to tell you, and I don't know if it's applicable. Let me go. Okay, we can ditch the. Well, maybe we should. Yeah. Let me go back to my speaker view. And this is just me. You can explore on your own. You can turn on your music and have a blast. Sometimes I like to research and see what other artists do, because maybe I could steal something, or maybe it might lead me onto another track. Not that you want to copy anybody, but that's how Renaissance is. Is that a plural for Renaissance? That's how they develop, because people are looking at each other and new things evolve, and there's this renaissance of like Italian and Northern European art, or there's this renaissance of music. What was the Black Renaissance in New York? What was that called? There was that.
The Harlem
Renaissance. Thank you.
I like Rauschenberg a lot.
I love Rauschenberg.
I
love that guy.
That era of,
yes.
Everybody's into Warhol. I think I'm not going to say anything about it. He says, that's his art. He's kind of a poser.
You know what Warhol was good at? His silkscreen pieces.
Yeah.
Like the one from Marilyn Monroe. Those were great. Okay.
He was good at, he is the art. That's Warhol.
But he did the art. Those silkscreen pieces are art.
Yeah. No, all right. Anyway, I won't get on Warhol.
But Rauschenberg,
I like more of that. And
Rauschenberg was one of my my favorite artists. But
so I just want to ask, I'm using images that have been published, and I'm trying to, scale them back and not, am I going to have any problem with that?
No, you're not. It's real. Oh, that brings up a good subject. It's real funny about especially with collage work. You're basically collaging. And the only way you could possibly, I think, unless if there's a lawyer in the Zoom house here, correct me if I'm wrong, but if somebody's pissed off because they see an image that they had painted or photographed, what are they going to sue you? Are you selling millions of copies online and making thousands and thousands of dollars? What are they going to do? All they can do is tell you, don't do that.
Right.
Never again. I wouldn't worry.
That others have.
Here's another artist that used. Look, what's that guy? He's the English Francis. That looks like Francis Bacon. Well, Francis Bacon can't sue because he's dead. So there's no problem there.
He's another one that I
But when I saw your artwork, I started thinking I had these saved on my computer file. I just love them, and I saved them because I'm thinking, well, maybe I might want to incorporate some of this graffiti stuff in my California Vibe portraiture art.
like I said, this was just something to do, you know, something recently I just did, and it's not done, but I'm going into thrift stores and looking for, you know, paintings, you know, the actual, not prints, but, you know, bad art, you know, just something. And then actually, I'm doing this with a friend of mine, and we're, you know, taking them and painting over them, but leaving some of the original art.
I've seen stuff like that, and it can be quite fun. In fact, I remember seeing one. It was a print of the Mona Lisa, and it was framed. They got it from a thrift store. The artist did, and he took it and he painted a lime green box over the Mona Lisa's face. It looked great. It was funny, it was humorous, and it looked great. Yeah, that sort of stuff. So that sounds like that's the way you're headed. And I would highly suggest, it looks like you're putting a lot of energy into this. I would keep doing it. You don't know where it's going to lead you.
So it's okay. I mean, I haven't shown these to anybody. So if you go to my, I have a website, you go there, and it's pretty, you know, representational watercolors. They're kind of tight.
So this is something new.
Yeah, they're very tight, and I got a lot of them. I can't find any place to show. You know, sell online when I can, very infrequently. You know, I did some classes in Redwood City. I'm making money. You know, I'm trying to do everything as an artist because I'm retired after, you know, 30 years of working in the digital world in Silicon Valley and doing art direction and corporate work.
Right.
So when you mentioned Photoshop, say I work for Adobe.
Okay.
It's great, but you know, it's a whole. You know, I don't get that visceral, kinetic. You know, working with paint, and that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
That, you know,
I remember many years ago when the computer was coming on, and I belonged to an illustrators club. Or organization, because I used to do commercial illustration, and people would say, "Oh man, the computer's going to take it all away." Okay, yes, the computer, you can illustrate, you can do fabulous things, but and now I'm in the world of teaching. You know, people love, and you just said it, people love working with their hands.
Yeah. I think that's it. It's that first. The other, you know, thing. I mean, Photoshop's great, but there's no mistakes. You just, you know, you can't say, "Well, no." You don't have. There is no mistakes. You can't. You know, everything's undo. You can start again.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of why I like watercolors. And people ask, "Well, what do you like to do?" Although I'm not showing that here. Why do you like watercolors? Well, because yeah, I mean, I have to be really in control and not in control at all at the same time.
My favorite definition, and then we got to move on. My favorite definition of watercolor, it's a process of controlling the flood. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
My pleasure. I enjoyed looking at your work. I enjoyed looking at everybody's work, but I see some more people here. Are we continuing, or what's oh, so Marion on the beach of Waikiki. Why is Marion here?
She's watching the critique, David.
Oh, you're watching. Am I doing okay, Marion? And who else?
Allison is here. Brad is here.
Did I do Brad already?
No, these are everybody's who can watch. Just watch the critique.
Oh, anybody could watch a critique. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's clued in.
There you go. Yeah.
All
So
right.
some people are just here to see the, you know, the different paintings that have been submitted and what the professional artist has to say about them.
Yeah, no, that's neat. I think this is great what you're doing. This is fabulous. So
the session is recorded and then we put it out to the rest of the members so they can watch it if they missed it today. And that's why we like you to say promote. You're going to be having a demo here coming up on the 12th.
Yeah.
And then your workshop with us is on I think the 20th. And that is your coast to coast California
coast
vibe
to coast.
style. Mhm.
Yeah, coast to coast sunset.
Right.
Done with, again, my kind of like my California vibe style. Lots of bright, I mean, what could be better for bright colors than sunsets?
Yeah.
And
If
these were
you
done
do you
from
have do you have a
reference
couple of those
photographs.
handy to show?
Well, funny you should mention that. Yes, let me put myself back on gallery, no, speaker. So this one, I taught, believe it or not, 5 back-to-back workshops about 3 years ago on the west coast of Florida. And the first one was in a town called Dunedin. And, you know, they're all on the water. So this was a pier and I was out there and I took a photograph. Just a beautiful sunset. So we're going to be doing this image. Boy, I'm hoping we're going to be able to do both images. We'll see. We've got 3 days, right? Yeah, we got 3 days. We should be able to do it. So we're going to do wet on wet for the sunset. And the cool thing about this is I let this dry. And as soon as it's dry, I wet it very gently again. And I do wet on wet, those soft clouds.
Mm.
I do a wet on dry and wet on wet water. And then the other thing that we're going to be working with, and I'll demonstrate, these little reflected colors, sunset reflected colors, were not done with watercolor. They were done with chalk markers. So I'm going to be showing that and teaching you how to do that. And then teaching you how to get in these figures and they're backlit so that they're almost silhouettes. So you don't need a lot of detail. So that's the, I'm going backwards. This is the East Coast. And then the West Coast is, oops, wait a minute, I'll get it. Here we go. Yeah. That's going to be, except we're going to do it bigger. This is a quarter sheet. Hey, Susan, did I say a full sheet on each one of these? Do you remember?
No,
Did I specify a size?
I don't think so. I can.
Yeah, we've got to go over that information so we
Okay.
get the proper information. So we can do that later.
All right.
But anyway, so this is something, the West Coast sunset,
Right.
again, with beautiful wet on wet. And you do this very quickly. You're not trying to copy the reference photograph. You just get the general idea. So again, that's controlling the flood. And then we're going to work on texture on the sand. I'm going to show a technique to render these rocks that's really effective and easy to do. And then we'll be painting this just big, beautiful wave rearing
Right.
up.
So for your demo, you're gonna not demo one of these, you're gonna demo a different scene, correct? On the 12th?
Yes, and I've done other scenes. Here's another one.
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, I love the splash.
Yeah, I know. You know, for every landscape that you do, there's you gotta think about it, and you've got to develop kind of a plan for your painting. So that's what I do with all of these.
Yeah.
So anyway, and if you've never taken my workshop, and this applies to all my workshops, about a week before the workshop, and we've got to talk about this, Susan. You will receive via email the outline drawings. So, you know, we're not drawing from scratch. That'd take way too long. I'm teaching technique. So you'll get those outline drawings. You can enlarge them to the paper size that I specify, and then they'll be all traced out and ready to paint the first day of the workshop. You'll also get the reference photograph. So you've got all that prior to the workshop, so we can spend all of our time painting, and then you'll follow me. I have never done a painting, a full painting, and said, okay, now it's your turn and I'll see how you guys are doing. What I do is I do a step by step. Like I might start out with the sky first, and that's all I do. And then I say, okay, it's your turn. And, you know, if you have any questions, I can answer them. People start painting. And then during that process, I'll usually ask, is anybody done? Because everybody paints at a different rate. Anybody done? And somebody say, yeah, I'm done. And then they can hold it up and I can look at it and give them any advice. So we do that. And then we might do the ocean. And then so we go step by step from start to finish. So that's my working procedure. And the cool thing about that is nobody gets lost behind and everybody can keep up with me.
Yeah,
So that's a little
definitely.
bit about Coast to
Yep.
Coast.
All right. Well,
That's
awesome.
September 25th,
September
26th.
20th, the 22nd, right?
Oh,
Let me see.
22nd,
Let me see. 20th to the 22nd.
20th to the 22nd.
And then demo on the 12th.
Yes. Let me double check. Hold on. Let me double check my calendar while we're at it.
Okay, well, I just double checked mine and that's the dates I have, so. Anyway,
Yes,
so
the 12th.
yeah, we're gonna be wrapping up here shortly. And then if anybody is interested, they can still sign up for that workshop and sign in for the demo on the 12th. So David, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. I think
Oh, my
everybody.
pleasure. That was fun looking at everybody's art.
Yeah, I think everybody got something really good out of it. So,
Good.
if they have any additional questions, I'll let them know. They could probably ask you. And then sometimes if they repaint the image or make changes, then we've been showing them in our newsletter. So the
Oh, good.
before and then the after, that way, they can see.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So that's
Oh,
kind
I
of,
want to see something from everybody in the newsletter.
well, not everybody does it, but if they do, then I will put it in there. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, well, thank you so much. I'm going to let you go now. Do you want to stay on with me? I'll just stop recording. And
Yes.